Teachers are tasked with making decisions that will affect their students on a daily basis. One of those decisions is about the types of assessments that will be used to measure their students. They can choose diagnostic, formative, or summative measures, depending on the purposes they have. They can also choose between traditional or authentic measures based on what they want to know about students' understanding and performance. So let's talk about tests for a minute. The official term for a test is traditional assessment. They measure what students know. Teachers need to consider if a test is the best way for them to measure their students. Some content lends itself to a test, matching vocabulary words, for example, while some does not, taking a test on how to write an essay rather than just writing the essay. Tests are objective, meaning that they have a clear right or wrong answer. Tests and quizzes follow some classic formats, with question styles like multiple choice, fill in the blank, and the like. Traditional assessments always have an answer key. They're easily automated. Long ago, we used those Scantron forms and called them bubble tests, which allowed a computer to score them. Now we use Google Forms and other tools that automate the scoring and save teachers significant time. The other bonus is that students can get immediate feedback. The other thing to note about tests is that they typically measure the lower levels of Bloom's taxonomy. Students identify, define, name, or match on a test. Although higher level questioning is possible, like application, analysis, and evaluation, those lean more towards other forms of assessment. Writing effective tests is no simple task. It actually takes a lot of skill and thought. Many teachers choose to collaborate when writing tests for the first time because there are many nuances to be aware of. First, it's important that test questions align to specific learning targets. Teachers and students, for that matter, should be able to identify exactly which learning targets each question on a test is measuring. When teachers consider their purpose in giving the test, it can help them determine the types of questions needed. Creating strong questions starts with a meaningful stem, which directs students to select from the options provided. The answer options should be intentionally written to allow teachers to understand where students are misunderstanding. Avoiding all of the above and none of the above is considered wise because it actually increases students' ability to eliminate options and increases their odds of being correct when guessing. Although it can be fun, the temptation to provide ridiculous wrong answers is not encouraged because it also increases students' odds for success while guessing. Providing clear directions and paying attention to the overall layout of the test on the page, spreading out text and allowing for white space, are all important elements that impact students' ability to perform well. When a traditional assessment doesn't measure the learning target well, remember that essay example, it's likely that an authentic or performance assessment is the better choice. When a teacher wants to know what a student can do or how they demonstrate a skill, an authentic assessment works well. Consider learning to drive. A traditional test is great for confirming that drivers know the traffic rules and what all the signs mean. But having people get driver's license without demonstrating that they can actually drive a car safely would not be very wise. We need drivers to perform their assessment in an authentic setting. They need to get behind the wheel and show someone that they know the rules and can do it. Authentic assessments are subjective. They have levels of quality. The driver might be able to parallel park, but they just don't do it very well. It's not right or wrong. It's a level of quality or mastery that counts most for the authentic assessment. That's why rubrics and checklists are important. The checklist is a list of expectations or the steps in the process, and the rubric is the scoring guide, usually a matrix or table, that shows the qualities the evaluator is looking for. Authentic assessments are not easily automated. They require humans to measure them. Typically, authentic assessments are complex tasks, and they often are used for higher levels on Bloom's taxonomy. Writing an effective authentic assessment requires, like any assessment, that the teacher identifies the specific learning targets that they want to measure. If what they want to know requires the students to demonstrate something, it's likely that an authentic assessment will work well. Creating a rubric, clear directions, and a checklist are all required elements of this type of assessment. Lastly, authentic assessment often lends themselves to real audience, so creating assignments and directions that provide a context, either real, like guests will be invited to the final performance, or fictional, pretend you're sending this letter to the school board, makes the task even more engaging. Authentic assessments, because they are subjective, require a rubric. Having a well written rubric is equally as important as having a well written set of directions to go with it. There are some basic tips that will make it more likely that your rubric will be effective. Consider first what a good performance of this task might look like. You'll want to thoroughly describe the criteria that would explain that passing level. Prioritizing them is helpful, and the criteria most necessary for strong performance should be placed at the top of the assessment, while lesser criteria should be listed near the bottom. Describing the various levels of quality for each criteria can be challenging. Using tools like Rubistar, a free online rubric maker, can provide some support for beginning teachers. It's best to provide an even number of qualities because this eliminates a middle option. The line between good enough and not good enough is only created with an even number of qualities. Experience with rubrics has shown that many teachers are sympathetic evaluators and will skew to the middle if there is an option. A rubric that clearly identifies the difference between performance that is fine and just so so will benefit both the student and the teacher. Lastly, once a rubric has been developed, it's helpful to use it when giving the authentic assessment task to students because it so clearly defines the expectations of the task.